Today is the first day of February in the year of 2026. It's coming up on 8 a.m. and I'm walking along the beach at Cushindun in the Glens of Antrim, Northern Ireland. Is this video number 8 or video number 9 of this series that I started a few weeks back, where I presented myself with the challenge of just presenting a video for 10 to 15 minutes without any preparation. Today I've just done exactly that. I started to walk on the shore here at Cushindun, and there are lots of things reeling through my head about the world in which we live and so on, but we'll see whatever comes up, whatever universe, source, whatever you want to call it, prompts me to speak. You can see here, as a result of the recent storms, we have lots of seaweed all washed up. Generally speaking, that isn't there. We have a nice clean beach this morning, it's very sandy. It changes from day to day. Sometimes it's very shingly and sore in the feet when you're walking down in for your cold plunge in the winter morning. I do try and do that several times a week. A lot of erosion here too, fresh erosion from recent storms, eating right into the bank above and eroding the green. Things that were in the news, of course, this week: Epstein files. The much talked about Epstein files are they gradually coming out to light on the television, which I don't use. I haven't used my television. I don't have a television now. I actually took it out about maybe a year ago, and it had been idle for a year prior to that. So whatever recreation or entertainment or research I do it online. I do use this phone quite a lot. I suppose I could be accused of scrolling too much, but I do like to keep up with the events in the world politically, and to try and discern the truth about what's going on by digging around in places like X and Rumble, YouTube. A lot of people that I follow and people that I trust to glean information from. But ultimately, I, within my heart, am my own interpreter of information. I tend to trust my inner knowing. Ultimately, I might glean all kinds of information, but going right away back, even to the so-called Northern Ireland Troubles, I was always politically neutral. I had an ability to stay on the fence, to watch people, to watch incidents, watch events going on, and to attempt to discern where does the truth lie, and not get emotional about it, not get fixated on either one camp or the other. People accuse me now of being a Trump supporter. No, I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm a Trump observer. And what I do see is quite a lot of people getting emotionally involved and taking again either one camp or the other. And people do get very irrational, and they get fixated on I don't know, there's just a crazy hatred or judgment for Trump that he's doing the wrong thing. I watch that and I think, wait a minute, I see him doing a whole lot of the right things, a whole lot of things that make sense to me. And like, one of the big things I think is, if we reduce it to simple level, that governments tend to be living on an open-ended credit card, and that's probably the easiest way to explain it. And people these days, you know, a lot of people, maybe most adult people, can have a credit card if they want. But we know that there are terms to that credit card, and if you don't keep to the terms, and if you let it go crazily out of control, then it goes beyond recovery. Now that appears to be exactly the way governments operate. You know, going back 3-4 years ago, 2020, they just squandered money all around them with regard to the whole situation that was going on at that time. And if governments keep spending money, who ultimately pays for it? You know, if you really look into the whole trap of the central bank system, the central bank system is a pyramidal system where all of the money on the whole of earth is centrally controlled and driven towards the top of the pyramid, and that's very obvious to everyone. When Donald Trump came on the scene, he said he was going to drain the swamp, change things, put things back in the power back in the hands of the people. Now, on one level, if you watch him and ask, is he doing that? At the present time, he is warring with the Federal Reserve, which is in essence the central bank, the big controlling mechanism. And this has repercussions right across the world, not just in America. Now, this is not something that could be disarmed in one day. And if you go to Promethean Action, for those who want to delve in deeper, just the video today that Promethean Action put out about the Federal Reserve System and Alexander Hamilton, and how he, going back to, I don't know, it was the 1800s sometime, where he wanted to bring in the tariff system and to break America away from the central bank system. He was assassinated. Abraham Lincoln, again, tried to move everything away from the Federal Reserve System. He was assassinated. You know, you come down to John F. Kennedy, who died within my memory. Again, he wanted to go up against this whole system. Assassinated. And, well, you can draw parallels with Donald Trump. Whatever it was about his assassination and or attempted assassination. But the whole mainstream press seems to be fixated on supporting those who are in support of the central bank system. Now, the only conclusion one can come to there is that the central bank system owns the television stations, the news media, everything. People who spoke up going back 3-4 years ago about the things that were going on in the world, you know, they get slimeballed, or whatever word you want to call it, by the media, tarred with, well, negativity. And, you know, the news media wants to give me the reputation of someone who beats up my wife. They can just inject that rumour out into the world and then let it roll. And it's picked up and it travels around, and it's a very difficult thing to stand up to argue against it, because if you do try to argue against it, you know, it only inflates the whole thing and gets more coverage. And it's impossible to defeat and to defend yourself. And so many in this country, it's happened over the last 4 or 5 years, and we can see it now, the whole area of free speech, where if you speak out in any way against the system, they tar you with a racist brush, or some crazy slogan that they popularise, and that the 3/4 of the population seem too willing to take it on board and run with it. I'm in that camp. I actually did have the racist term thrown up against me on Facebook, and it's absolutely crazy. There's not a racist bone in my body. There's not a racist. There's no vindictiveness or hatred in my heart for any human being. It just doesn't exist. And those who live close to me know that. I know it very well. That I absolutely love all human beings. And there's no one in my community, my neighbourhood, that I am not willing to meet and to be friends with and shake hands with. There may be very negative elements in the world, and perhaps even in my community, but I'm not aware of anyone at all that I consider so bad, so evil, that I want to avoid them. If such a person does exist, of course, I want to speak out against them and to warn people if there's danger of it, and to defend myself against it, and so on. But I don't want to be naive about the world, stupid, and to pretend that evil doesn't exist. It obviously does exist, but it seems to me that it exists in the whole control system way up beyond where my local community is. But my local community is so easily affected by it and so easily sucked in by it that they and we and I, we still roll with it, and somehow or other we still kowtow to authority and still live this crazy system of a 9-to-5 job, and the whole, accepting the whole education system, the work system, everything as is. It is something that the only way it will change is with education, and hence the reason that I'm actually doing this video. At least I'm putting it out there for those of you who hear what I want to say, because I'm saying it locally and aiming towards a local audience. Then I'm more likely to have some little impact, at least on that small scale. If I can encourage others to do the same, and to speak and pass it on, and to teach other people in what little way we can, that passes around and wakes up the population in general, makes people aware. And when people are aware, then they pay more attention to the people in political power, and obviously then we gradually change things, little by little. As I've said before, the most difficult person to change is myself. We all look around and want to blame someone else for the problem. But if I clean my own doorstep, that might inspire my neighbour to try and keep up and to clean his or her doorstep. So that's what my mission is about, first of all, is to clean up my own doorstep, to do the best that I can, to set the best example that I can, and just day by day, little by little, to change my life to be a better human being. So that's all I want to say for today, having walked the full length of Cushendun Beach, and I'm going to walk back now and enjoy the sensations and the sounds and the smells of the sea washing up on the shores here on the coast of Northern Ireland. Do give me a thumbs up, a comment, subscribe. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.